Donna Brown works for Hydro Tasmania. Her bio is in the handouts, so I'm not going to just read it out because that's boring. Donna is a fabulous person. Donna and I did Tas Leaders program together, which was a very interesting time and a lot of fun. And as well as being very, very good at her job, Donna actually cares about people, I think. And what I've seen in terms of her work, she's very calm, she's methodical. But there's a lot of empathy. She'll be talking today about Blockades to Bridges, which is building trust in the community. So, Donna working for Hydro Tasmania. Hydro's had some real challenges in the past with I think with stakeholder engagement, but it's such an integral and important company to Tasmania. It keeps our lights on. Everyone's a greenie till the lights go out. And Donna will be talking today, Blockades to Bridges. Really looking back at the rise of environmental awareness in the 70s and 80s and through to today. So without further ado, please welcome Donna.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining the session. I'm looking forward to this session and hearing the other speakers and hoping we can generate some really good discussion as well, because I think this is everything I've heard through the presentation so far of being what an important topic this is for the success of our industry. I'm going to tell you the story of Hydro, and it goes back a long time to 1916, which was the construction of our first hydro project in Tasmania, Wadamana. And I can't say enough what a proud history that Hydro has. Some of the pioneering engineers that built the hydro schemes were just world leaders and way ahead of their time in terms of innovation. They did things that had never been done around the world. They took communities and workforces out into the remote Tasmanian bush and did the impossible, what people said they couldn't achieve. And waves of migrants came from Europe, post-war migrants. We have this fantastic migrant story, building communities and villages in Tasmania. You really couldn't imagine a situation where you have a whole community and a whole state galvanised behind an industry. And when we have community sessions today, we have all sorts of people come out of the woodwork, and they come to our session just to tell us their hydro story about their grandfather or their mother, or growing up or falling in love in a hydro village in Bronte Park or wherever they were. It means a lot to a lot of Tasmanians, and we're incredibly proud of that. 30,000 Tasmanians built the hydro. So that's a bit of a very quick history lesson to paint a bit of a picture for you of what a great pillar of the community the hydro was seen as during this period of time, up until the 1960s. Now, I particularly love this image. It's an advertisement back in the day selling the benefits of the Hydroelectric Commission for the state of Tasmania. And I thought if we were all a bit sleepy after lunch, we could all get up and do the pose maybe. But you all seem pretty engaged, so we won't do that. But I love this image because I think, although it's of its day and it's kind of a bit funny and we have a bit of a laugh with it now, I think it actually captures the essence of where we can maybe go a bit wrong sometimes in the way we engage communities, because we're very proud of our industries. We achieve amazing things. We're full of technical experts. We're a very technical industry. We're very proud of what we do. We're very committed to what we do. And we get pretty excited about our projects, don't we? Okay, we think they're pretty cool. And we really can't imagine anyone not loving our projects as much as we do. And so what happens, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, but have a little think about that. What happens when we're in that mindset? The Hydro's had this amazing, proud history, achieved the impossible. We've built a whole community and workforce behind this fantastic hydro. We've brought electricity to Tasmania. We've opened up the Tasmanian bush. But it all started to go a bit wrong, because what this creates is a blindness. So we have a blindness sometimes in industry that we forget, and we fail to see when the world around us changes. And it can take a while for us to work that out, and we don't often cope very well when people don't like our projects, and we don't have a very good understanding of that from the early stage. So this is a very familiar story to all Tasmanians, starting with the impoundment of Lake Pedder in 1970s, which was really the birth of the environmental movement in Australia and the beginning of the Greens Party in Australia. That was followed by the Gordon Below Franklin campaign that was successful in stopping one of our projects that's now in a World Heritage Area that never went ahead. So this is a very familiar Tasmanian story, but it's actually not only a Tasmanian story, because what happened in Tasmania was happening all around the world, in the hydropower industry and large dams all around the world. And there was a World Commission on Dams report that culminated in 2000, and large dams around the world were really on the nose. The community had decided enough is enough. We don't like the environmental impacts of dams, the human rights impacts of dams. And the industry really failed to see this coming, and the industry really failed to adapt to this change, and it ended up completely losing its social licence, which is really sad because it had such a rich history and heritage. So you can imagine how tough that was also for people inside the industry. So from that time, there were a couple of decades of having to lick the wounds and really struggling, because during this time, the hydro workforces shrunk. Lots of people lost their jobs, construction workers and engineers, so it was the closing down of an industry. Instead of, whilst engineers and construction workers were losing their jobs, we were employing people like fish biologists and aquatic scientists and people that could engage with communities. Because the industry had an enormous amount of learning to do. We had to learn what our environmental impact was and what our impact on community was, and we had to completely reinvent ourselves. And actually, Hydro Tasmania was very active internationally. We led international programs in the hydro industry to develop better environmental and social standards for the industry, to improve environmental social performance for the industry around the world, and we're still very active in that today as well. So that was really the beginning, and it was a huge learning. It was a tough time inside the industry, and there was a complete loss of community trust starting from that very rich heritage, so an enormous amount of work to do. To rebuild trust. We still have people, this is very recent history, so it comes up for us still all the time, decades later. I'm going to come to today now, and Lindsay's smiling because she sent me this chart. Thank you, Lindsay. So today, hydropower today, so we've been through that period. We've got quite mature environmental programs now and community programs as an organisation. We have a lot of scientists working for us. We work with universities. We have a number of research projects. So we feel quite mature in our approaches. But we're coming into this new phase where the national electricity market is completely transforming. And for us, that means a new era of hydropower development, potentially for Tasmania under Battery of the Nation. So I think this is a chart from Next Generation National Infrastructure Survey. And I think it goes back to that earlier point of, how do we see a project, and what do we get excited about when we think about a project? Because often when a new initiative or project comes along, we get very excited about the technical aspects of that project. And we often think that a project is a technical thing, but actually a project isn't a technical thing, and I think we all know that now. Projects happen very much in a social context, and as Lance said, no matter how great your project is, even in delivering benefits to the community, they're not necessarily going to like your project if they don't like the way that you conduct yourself in bringing that project to the community. What this chart shows is influential factors affecting project deliveries. So for the engineers in the room, I'm sure that the technical risks are often, when we're setting up a project team, and for project managers, it's really all about the technical risks of a project. But what we know is it's rarely technical issues that affect the delivery of a project, particularly for large new infrastructure projects. So what the research shows that pressure from communities and stakeholder pressure, regulatory issues, are some of our biggest challenges in having successful delivery of projects. So when we come, and our environmental performance is a very important part of that as well. So when we're coming now to Battery of the Nation and pumped hydro, we absolutely realise that this is the bit we really have to get right, because it's big for Tasmania. We have our history and our legacy that people still judge us on, and we've got quite a lot of work to do to build trust if we're going to be successful in this initiative. I'll just mention quickly about a couple of things we're doing internally, and we can talk more during the panel. I guess the important thing we've learned is around the need to really listen and to really understand not the technical details and facts of a project, but how people feel about the way we engage with them is what really matters, because that's what shapes their views primarily about our projects. So what we've done just this year is we've gone out and done a social research project. We've had a random sample of 30 of our key stakeholders, and we've asked them, how does it feel to engage with Hydro Tasmania? What kind of experience do you have? What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? Because we want to improve. We had some really fantastic, I think we had about 60% of stakeholders said we were quite wonderful and great, and they have amazing experiences. Collaboration came up as a word all the time when people said we were great. Sharing information, something people like, and when we listen, they were all the positive attributes. And we had about 30% saying, you know, you guys need to improve, and some feedback was quite confronting in that there was some quite bad negative experiences that people had had. I like the quote down the bottom. This was a quote straight from one of our stakeholders. Don't be afraid to engage. There's an opportunity for real organisational change and a chance to take community values on board to become a truly respected pillar of the community. I like the use of the word afraid there, because I do think sometimes with projects there is a bit of a fear. There's a fear about trusting communities and trusting that we can get good outcomes if we work with communities. We often think it's going to be a problem, it's going to delay us, it's going to take more time, something might go wrong. So I like the way that's been articulated. Again, just very quickly, a few things we're doing internally because we realise we need to improve here, and we're really committed to doing this. And so we're looking very much internally, working with our workforce. We're introducing customer relationship management tool, which is probably very common for retail businesses dealing directly with retail customers. But we're looking at this for all of our stakeholder relationships in the business as well, which and trying to make sure people understand, even for whether you're a project manager or someone working in a power station, that part of your role is engaging with the community and stakeholders, and we're putting that in people's role descriptions, we're setting measures, we're helping to train people as well. We've consulted internally, we've had some of our project managers say to us, I feel really uncomfortable in this space. I've never been trained in this. I don't know what to do when I'm dealing with someone and they're angry or upset. I'm not sure what I should do. I don't know what's expected of me. And then we have other people in the business who just naturally do this stuff really well. So we've realised that we need to support people by our staff, help them understand what's the standard, what's expected of them when they're engaging externally, and provides training and support as it's needed. Looking at ways of measuring our performance and benchmarking our performance as well. And with Battery of the Nation, we're at a very early stage with Battery of the Nation, and we don't have actual projects yet. We just have really a concept and some early stage studies, but we're going out to communities and stakeholders early. And what we're trying to do is really just brief them on the concept. Why is this happening? What is it about? How does it all work? Where do you fit into it? Okay, so and asking them for feedback. What do you need from us to bring you on this journey, to help you understand what we're doing, and to make you feel comfortable with our process? Okay, so we don't have a project yet. It's early stage. But we're wanting to build a foundation to set us up for success later, and we don't want any surprises for our communities or stakeholders that we might just roll into town, like Lance said, one day with a project and no one knows why we're doing that, and they haven't had time to really think about that and form a view about that. And we've had people have really appreciated that we've been out doing that. So they really do appreciate the opportunity to come along and learn more. And importantly, all right, I'll finish up now. My last point is on the always end with kids, I reckon, because if it's not about kids in the future, what is it about? Our sector has such an amazing opportunity to upskill young people, and we know that Tasmania has poor performance on education, school retention. We've all heard that before. So we have an active education program, and we're going out into schools to help them build an understanding of our industry and our business, but also to help them understand what are the opportunities for them in their backyard. And we're trying to support them with thinking about careers and facilitating and playing our role in that as well. And that's been fantastic. We've just learnt so much from engaging with young people so far. There's lots of other things I could talk about, but I'm going to leave it there. We taking questions? Or?
Yeah, we might have one, or otherwise we can wait for the panel forum. Any questions, Donna? All right, we'll probably
Keep moving?
keep moving. Yeah, we're running
Right.
it. We sort of started late, so might keep. Thank you very much, Donna. Please join me in questions.